WGL North America, and to our relegation games. We are about to move on to our second set of battles. Our second match is going to be EC, Ehrmahgerd Caernervern, versus Game Over, another one of the teams that performed well in the summer majors. And, you know, EC was a team that had a little bit of fandom coming into Season 1 of the WGL, and then they imploded a little bit. We know that a few of their players are now on other teams. We just saw Whiskey Dodd playing on Simplistic. He's formerly an EC member. We know that Trouble 2, a former EC member, is no longer with the team at all. So they have been undergoing some restructuring. It was difficult for them in the regular season of Season 1. The question now becomes how well have they done of kind of shaping it up, shaking it off, and putting their squad back together in preparation for Season 2. Now, the real test is here today against Game Over. They have to win. If they do, well, they're back, and we can keep telling that story. If they don't, well, they'll be forced to play in our open qualifiers.
And above all, if they win today, they have a little more time to actually adjust and get ready for that regular season. Who knows how ready they are right now? Who knows when Whiskey Dot actually left them? I do agree with you. I remember back then when we just had the qualifiers, and you know, certainly I wasn't really that familiar with the teams. And I was like, you see, they're really good. They're going to qualify. And it took them actually the second try as well to qualify. I was like, maybe they're not as good as some people thought they were. And then in the regular season, they started off quite okay. I think they started off with a 2-1 record. But after that, pretty much everything went wrong.
Yeah, that was around the time that they lost Trouble 2, one of their key members, and that kind of threw off the aggressive stance that EC had come in with. They were so aggressive, and then they didn't quite know what to do mid-season. Towards the end, they kind of got this new tone coming out where it was much slower, more methodical, and they actually brought a TD a few times. And that's Scharnhorst who would bring a TD for EC. Yeah. I don't know if we're going to see him here today. We're going to have to see in a few minutes. But yeah, I definitely think whoever they bring in will influence the new personality that we'll see out of EC.
The dynamic of the team itself. Tank Destroyer play, something that's pretty interesting, Randall. TDs did get a little bit of a buff in a patch about halfway through Season 1. And we saw some Tank Destroyer play near the end of Season 1. And we might even have seen one or two at our finals in Las Vegas. But we've yet to see Tank Destroyer play really be successful. Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think we've only seen one really strong game with TDs, and that was, it was on Ensk, and it was...
I thought we saw a game
EC. It was EC, and they were on Ensk, and it was a fantastic Jagdpanther 2 play by Scharnhorst, because what they did was they used it kind of like an arty piece, direct fire. You use a tank destroyer to direct fire and just punish the enemy team for pushing out or moving into the wrong position, and you slowly move that TD up, and it just destroys everyone it comes across. Because the thing is, the Jagdpanther 2, for example, can hit for like 490. That's 100 more damage than an IS-3, and it shoots just as fast, if not slightly faster. If memory serves it slightly faster. It's so much damage that you put out, so much alpha out of a tank destroyer, but the thing is it doesn't have a turret. So the weakness there is the no turret, the flanking it can be so huge.
You're going to shoot in one direction. It's going to take a very long time.
I thought we saw a good game of tank destroyer on Prokhorovka as well.
Yeah, that was actually still Scharnhorst and EC on Prokhorovka. Unfortunately, they lost that one. But it was still really strong play. Scharn putting out most of the damage for his team in that tank destroyer. It's something that could happen, but it really requires a player that knows how to play it. Just like an arty player or a light tank driver, you have to know your tanks. You have to really be that skilled for your team to allow you to bring that kind of a tank. Because anything that's not a heavy can sometimes be looked at as kind of a liability for your team.
Yeah. Now, there will be no face-off for this particular match. It looks like we might be starting on Ruinberg. That's pretty interesting. Still no certain direction on what tanks we're going to see or anything like that. But I like the tank destroyer discussion a lot, Randall. We also mentioned arty pieces a little bit. That's something that we haven't seen. It's almost been completely remiss from competitive World of Tanks play. Why is that?
The way artillery pieces have been rebalanced, very recently, they've gotten health nerfs. They have so little health next to the equal tier tanks. They got bumped up in tiers. They used to be tier 8 max. Now it's tier 10. And with most of the tier 8 tanks that used to bring like a 261, you can't bring that because now it's tier 10. It's off limits. And now the new tier 8 is not so fast. It doesn't shoot quite as accurately. The tanks aren't really worth their points for what most people believe. And also, you would bring maybe a Bison at tier 2. That was a fantastic arty piece, but the Bison moved up a tier and got rebalanced in such a way that it's more balanced for pub matches, not balanced for 742 play, unfortunately, which is why we don't see them. They're too much of a liability.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, could you tell us something about Game Over? Because I am unfamiliar with that lineup.
Well, unfortunately, my connection got interrupted. I was going to take a look at the teams here and take a look, but I think I saw a Pyro. So some of these guys are from Forge.
Yes,
And
Pyro is in.
Yeah, and it says he's in Forge still. Is there a little tag right after his name? Anyway, last I remember, Spidey. Oh yeah, Forge members left. They created a new clan, Spidey. That's another one of those Unicum clans, just people who are very good at World of Tanks, grouping together for clan wars. It looks like these guys are going more towards, though, tournament play, and they might be just looking, at the money. So lots of skill there in Spidey.
I know what I would play. I mean, there's clan wars and all. That's really fun, but I would go where the real money's at.
Man, and it's not just money. Like people play Clan Wars because you get the gold. We gave away a lot of gold last season in the WGL. Some players earning in excess of 150,000 gold due to
50,000 even, I think. One of them.
I think Kufo got like 175,000. I think he was the big winner.
For the
best
scout?
Yeah.
Best scout in the Kufa.
By a large margin, according to the stats that we tracked. Kufo performed very well, but was a member of the team Cazadores. Unfortunately, the Cazadores will not be returning unless they go back through our open qualifiers. But they were one of our bottom 4 teams last season, which means they get bumped down.
That's very unfortunate.
Yeah.
They were a lot of fun. Certainly, Sounds of the Game was a lot of fun.
Man, they
With
brought
that
such
cool
a
game.
unique play style.
That cool game on Abbey when it's just like, are they gonna lose? Are they gonna lose? They won.
It's lose or draw, lose or draw. Wait a second. Wait. It's not either of those things.
Yeah. What's actually really cool about some of the Cazadores players is I actually recognized a few names when I was looking over people who had joined the open qualifier. It looked like a few people that were on Cazadores have joined another team that does not have Kufo on it. So I'm wondering if we're going to have a second Spanish-speaking team to challenge Cazadores for top South America.
Or Kufa is gonna join Simp or Fulcrum.
Kufo is a very good player, and I think he would be a good fit on any of these top teams that are in need of a strong scout player. So, guys, our training room is still being set up. It means we are going to take a short break. When we get back, we should be ready for our first battle between EC and Game Over. Please don't go anywhere. WGL relegation matches will return after this. Back to the WGL North America and to our World of Tanks relegation matches for Season 2 of the WGLNA. We are getting ready for EC, Ehrmahgerd Caernervern versus Game Over. EC, one of our 9th through 12th place teams, going up against Game Over, one of our top 6 teams in the World of Tanks Summer Major Leagues.
I am stoked, man. I think it's going to be a really fun series. I think our first match of the day was pretty fun. 3-1 score. We saw 4 pretty entertaining Tanks games, and I certainly think this one, because EC is really, one of those teams with quite a reputation in the North American tank scene. It's hard to imagine a WGLNA without a team like EC. I think it's also very likely, if they wouldn't make it, that a couple of those guys will get picked up by one of the other teams. Like, hey, a couple of good guys on the team, never hurts to have a good backup, or perhaps even a main player in your team.
Before the break, we talked about some of the roster changes that EC had undergone, but we can also see a lot of familiar names on the lineup. Urtai there, Durasta there, Gomes there. We see Rodney Dangerfield there.
Vect and Tommy Cannon are also returning to Red Sky, but it looks like Uber Sniper, fantastic name, is a new guy on the team. I don't recognize him as a part of last season's Ehrmahgerd Caernervern, so I think he'll be a new pickup. And I'm wondering if anybody else.
Still looks like a really solid team, though, if you look at it like this. Because Urtai is a really good player. Gomes has been really solid throughout the entire season. The Rasta as well.
Yeah. Now, we also talked about how EC kind of underwent a bit of a transformation in their play styles. They sort of started out as this hyper-aggressive team that was always moving, always trying to make something happen somewhere around the map. They slowed down substantially, turning into a team that was content to do things like bring a tank destroyer and play a little bit more methodically. And now one style is not necessarily better or worse than the other, but I think the question remains, which style fits the EC players better? And you know a lot of these guys pretty well.
Yeah, when I look down at this team, I see players like Durasa, who's been field commanding in Clan Wars for over a year. We could almost say years now. And he's probably one of the main callers I'd expect, him or Tommy Cannon. And I know DeRosta enjoys a very slow play style, very methodical, lots of metagaming. out of him, and I'm expecting some slower strats. A few really aggressive strats out there just to catch their enemy off guard, but we're not going to see a consistently highly aggressive strategy out of Ehrmahgerd Caernervern. That's at least what I predict.
Okay. And Game Over, again, one of those teams that there is a little bit of mystery surrounding them. They were not one of the top 2 teams in the Summer Majors. Those top 2 teams were seeded directly into Season 2, but they still performed well enough to have earned their opportunity to relegate a Season 1 team. But how do they play? What do they do? That's still kind of up in the air. So I am eager to see how this matches up against EC. What exactly the play style is going to be.
I'm wondering as well. I see a lot of players that I know from Clan Wars, and in Clan Wars, it is definitely a slower, more methodical often. So until this team looks like it's a lot of newer guys. I don't recognize seeing this team together. This could just be me having an oversight, but I think we're going to see just another team that's probably going to play in the traditional American style. It's, you know, somewhat methodical. You make the right moves. You put some overmatches here, there. You try and put 3 against 2, and just try and get those little battles, those little victories. And maybe if they have some good T1 play, that they get an advantage there. But I'm expecting to see some really nice slow battles where they kind of, you know, shadow box each other, and see what kind of advantage they can get, or if they can get their opponent on the back foot, you know, just try and get any advantage, maybe get in their head.
Looks like Prohorovka, as Soviet would say, will be our first map in this match. And you know, Proc is a map that once upon a time we said you had to play fast, and then the arty change was implemented, and there was no urgency on these open maps anymore because there's no real threat of death from above. So will this play to that kind of Durasta play style that you were talking about?
I'm fully expect this to go slowly. We've seen Proc, especially towards the end of our league, going to an east-west kind of thing. One team goes to the west, one team goes to the east, and then they kind of fight across that big, long, open ground. And I wouldn't doubt that we see that unless both teams go east or both teams go west, because that could happen, and we could have a clash in the mid, or rather off to one of the sides in the middle of the map towards the the village off in the east, or in the west down the main road, you know, anything. But if they push up the middle, I would be completely surprised. That would be EC pulling out a strat that I wouldn't call characteristic of their new composition.
Of their new style. But once upon a time, EC was boasting about their unbeatable proc strat.
I remember when Trouble was still on the team, I actually watched one of their games here on Proc, and he was just like, driving forward, and he's like, he doesn't even zoom, he doesn't even click shift when he's actually shooting at the tank. So he's just like running around, shooting in the wild, and I was like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I never zoom. I was like, oh. He's like, no, my aim is really good. I was like, I believe you, Trouble too.
Boom, some grass blows up. Boom, a tree goes down.
He was missing a few shots. He's like, yeah, I'm not used to this setup. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it must be really hard. I mean, certainly when you have like a WZ-132 or even a T-69, if you're driving at full speed, it's really hard to hit all your shots.
It's just hard to get your pointer on target when you're going just that fast, especially downhill across all that terrain. Aiming in third person is very difficult, and anybody who can do it even like 70% accuracy, you have to applaud them for that, because that is an accomplishment.
Standing ovation is what they get from me, Ben.
Well, Proc is ready. Our countdown has begun, and I'm sure that we are in for a treat as we are seeing some very fast and aggressive tank lineups. Let's go ahead and play that map intro and jump into our first map, Prohorovka. And here we go, as we have some immediate movement out of our red team here. That's Game Over and tanking Dhaka.
Same goes on the other side, though. Ehrmahgerd Caernervern just going straight ahead with a couple of T-69s, a 3090 and a from the
Henrik
game over.
with a very typical scouting run, just blasts right up the middle, hits the ridge line, and
Oh,
goes
that's
over
it.
over the sides here. Looks like Tommy Cannon was able to light him up as
What a cool name.
as Henrik
Tommy Cannon.
living up to his Tommy Gun,
Yeah.
living up to it, takes out about 200 hit points off of Henrik there, and Henrik forced to head for the hills, ducks into cover in that village, and will lose all vision of EC. So a single shot fired and a single shot landing for Ehrmahgerd Caernervern.
These guys really deserve an award for all their nicknames. Like Rodney Dangerfield is pretty badass, but Tommy Cannon is like, all right, guys, I want you in the league already.
The cool things that you could name an award after that. The Tommy Cannon Award goes to the man.
After this season, Tommy Cannon will be a legend. Well, of course they're gonna have to be a legend first in this first match against Game Over, but a very important one for them.
Yep. Teams look like they're just spreading out for the time being, as we see EC with multiple tanks sort of dotting the center of the map. They've kind of cut the map in half along the, in an angle along this center line, whereas we've got Game Over preferring to control the entire eastern side of the tracks there.
I love what we're seeing actually with Gomes and Vito over there on the hill. Gomes taking a lot of damage though. He's getting lit up seriously. Only 371 HP remaining.
And he's going to bail. Can he do it safely?
He's going to track his tank pretty badly, but it looks like he does have a kit that he can pop, and he's going to try to get out of there. That's Tanking Daka giving chase from above. Gomes, you got to be so careful. But it looks like Tanking Daka is not going to pursue. He's decided that it's too dangerous because Vex is covering. Ooh, Tanking Daka juking for his life as Gomes will get out of there.
It's a very big HP advantage
Gomes does
right
take a
now
hit,
for
he's gonna
Game
go
Over.
down.
Yeah, I'm not sure who managed that one. Looks like it was Nip from way downtown. Nip all the way in the village managed to get eyes on Gomes, and
Vex is in a lot of trouble
pick
as
him
well. There
off.
is still a tank on the hill, and now Henrik Dante still has him inside as well. So it's either the hill tank that's going to shoot at him, which is Tanking Daka.
Oh, Tanking Daka is going to try to ram Vex. That WZ is a much heavier tank. I don't know if that's a good idea, but he does have the luxury of the autoloader. Can he outgun Vex? The answer might be no. He's going to try to give retreat. Vex down to just 85 hit points. If he can get one more shot off, he might be able to Tanking Daka over the hill!
And a great shot by... Who was that? Who got that hit? That
I have no idea,
That was
but
Colorado.
Tanking
the
Daka
T1?
all the way...
No. Wow.
all the way down.
was
It was
Tommy
actually
Cannon.
Tommy Cannon takes
Tommy.
takes out his teammate with a little bit of friendly fire. He was aiming at Tanking Daka, but he missed. And
As he went
Vex
over the
down.
cliff.
Tommy Cannon.
Tommy guns, man. They're not very well known for their accuracy.
You know, that's the thing about a Tommy gun. It's a bit of a spray and pray kind of a situation.
This bitch just run in and let it all go. Empty the clip. Either way, it's going to look a little dicey right now for EC with only 24 tier points against 41. They're going to have to make something happen. A couple of those tanks are quite lit up though. I mean, Henrik Dante took some damage. Tanking Daka took a lot of damage. Rafa Beta took a little bit of damage. You know, it is still possible, but it's going to be very hard.
But the T-69s are at full health. Nip does finally take a shot. Oh, as he's found two T-69s to go up against. That's Rodney Dangerfield and Tommy Cannon himself. Well, that's all three T-69s.
Yeah,
They're all
Urtai's
together.
there as
Urtai's
well.
in the mix as well. So we've got a bit of a crossfire here as Game Over trying to pick apart EC, but the T-69s are being played very well. It's a lot of low health tanks on the Game Over side, a lot of low health tanks on the EC side as well. Urtai, the only one with about half health left.
Tommy Cannon was able to pick one off, so they just have to pick off one more, and then they can sort of force a draw. Of course, not going to be easy with that one T-69 from Gondorfo.
Here
heading
comes
forward right now.
Gandorfo with nearly full health. He's going to find Tommy Cannon out and take him down. That means
my God,
Urtai and Rodney
Urtai.
Dangerfield, the last one standing.
Urtai missing a couple of really important shots, but Gondorfo extremely low on HP right now.
And
Rodney misses as well.
Gonna go down, but is it really gonna matter as Henrik Dante and the rest of the reinforcing crew has come along to take out and clean up the rest of EC. And there's some nice play there out of Game
Very
Over.
nice. Very, very nice play
That
by
was
Game
so
Over.
exciting up on the hill with Tanking Daka and poor Tommy Cannon.
Yes.
That was so close that if that goes differently, if Tommy Cannon hits his shot, maybe we have a different outcome.
But I think it went kind of wrong before already with that one tank which took way too much damage, which wasn't, was it Gomes?
That was DM Gomes up on the hill. He went and tried to advance, and he got a T1 kill, but unfortunately, he took some hits from a 1390. Great cover, by the way, out of that 1390. I want to take a check who that was.
Yeah.
That was Tanking Daka, covering his T1, proper use of a T1 to scout ahead, 1390 covering his approach, and then punishing the guy who took him out.
I mean, Tanking Daka was a real all-star there, dealing 2,500 damage,
Wow.
didn't kill anything.
That's close to like the record of the WGLNA season
Well,
1, I believe.
Silent Demise did 3,300 damage one time, so he's still 900 damage behind that, but he did it in a 1390. Silent Demise was in a big, heavy hit in IS-3. Pretty impressive performance there out of Tanking Daka, who shot 12 times and managed to pin 11 of them, stayed alive the whole time after taking a ride down the side of the hill, getting some hang time.
This is what I love about the qualifier. Well, this is not really the qualifiers, this is the relegation matches, but still, like it's the start of the season, and a couple of these guys, they're already going to jump out. You're going to remember their names. That's what we had last season. Of course, we already were familiar with like the big guns from Simp and Fulcrum, but we saw a couple of guys from the perhaps a little less or a little more unknown teams making big name for themselves in the qualifiers, and they were pretty damn solid throughout the entire season, and perhaps that's something that we're going to see today as well.
I like the fact that Colorado from Game Over managed to pick up 2 kills that game.
In his T1.
Little T1 Cunningham, 2-kill T1 Cunningham.
Solid.
I wonder who he killed.
He killed, I think he killed both T1s. He killed, because, was it, Robal did not get any kills, and Colorado and Robal were on the other side of them.
Okay.
Well, no, Robal died early on, and then that was Colorado on the opposite side of the map. He was all the way up in the northwest, and he killed both of the T1s from EC. He killed both Durasta and Uber Sniper as they tried to go north to put pressure on Cap.
So that's some good T1 play.
Yep.
Better
Excellent.
T1 play than the EC T1 play, so, yeah.
Well, I mean, Durasta is a really good T1 player as well, in my opinion. At least I've always enjoyed watching him.
It's just he was probably moving out in the open, and when you're a T1 moving out in the open,
there's not much room for error.
Yeah, not much at all, and especially if he had an auto loader on there, he can't really shoot on the move. He has to stop, wait about 2 seconds, and then fire. Whereas I think we had Colorado probably sitting there with a camo net, not getting spotted at all, spotting them at max speed range for a T1, and just destroying them. Yeah, no chance.
I would like to ask you, Randa, what do you think about the role that those 3 T69s played in the middle of the map? Airtie, Rodney Dangerfield, and what was the other
Tommy
Cannon?
Yeah, Tommy Cannon.
Yeah. Tommy Gunn.
I felt like on one moment they had the opportunity to actually engage, because I really felt that the entire focus on Game Over was in dealing with Gomes and dealing with Vect, who were on the hill, and I felt that most of the tanks were looking in that direction as well. I felt those 3 T69s could have made something happen in the middle of the map.
I completely agree with that. Yeah, there were so many times that they probably could have pushed in, especially when there were distractions on the hill, well, actually mostly on the hill. And that is exactly the opposite direction from where those 3 T69s were. If they'd pushed over and just gotten either free damage or something a little bit earlier, more aggressive, they probably could have done something with that, and that could have swayed the advantage in favor of EC.
Also, because in my opinion, Henrik Dante was kind of like a roaming player. He was not really hill. He wasn't like committed to the hill, but he was also not really guarding the tracks. He was just kind of roaming in between.
He was the active scout. He was the guy that was moving around, lighting up the enemy team and actually allowing things to take shape. Henrik Dante played very well, and it was him who got who got the last kill right there at the very end of it. Either way, guys, a great first game out of Game Over. We're going to move on into Himmelsdorf in just a moment. We're going to take a short break. When we get back, Game 2, EC versus GO.
They're going to go up against 2 AMX 5100s, 2 IS-3s, and a T69 from Game Over.
Definitely a more traditional lineup out of Game Over as opposed to EC, who've opted for very heavy on the autoloaders. 3 5100s. It's a lot of damage they could pump out, but it's not a lot of armor, and it's slightly less health. So I definitely give the advantage. I feel like Game Over has a better setup. I prefer that kind of a lineup. It's more balanced, I feel.
I like what they're doing over here, tricking a little bit, putting Airtie in the front. It's like, we just got a T69 over here, you know, and if he would somehow see something, if 2 tanks would jump on him.
But on the other side of the map, real quick, guys, DM Gomes goes down. Okay. Very sad.
Down goes Gomes, busting out the Mac attack.
Yeah, he spotted a T1 and Rafa Beta, which indicates to Ehrmahgerd Caernervern that Game Over has taken a west side layout. I can't see what Game Over has for their positioning, but am I right?
They are. They're controlling the west side of the map. A very defensive position. We got 2 tanks up in the A1 square, and the rest of Game Over basically saying you shall not huff it down the railroad tracks here. We're going to control the side of the map. with extreme bias. We do see that the hill push is coming from EC. They're taking their time with it, though.
Scary hill push. Once more, we got these three players sticking together. Tommy Cannon, 69, Rodney Dangerfield, and Urtai are going to roll down this hill right now. And who are they going to run into, Ben?
That's a great question, but the game over players will, you know, they're going to run into a T1 is what it really boils down to, Kev. It's going to be Roball.
But will Roball spotting actually get
I guess
them
it'll be
anything?
Colorado rather, not Roball. Roball's on the other side of the map. But Colorado's spotting should eventually. I guess there's the spot. He does finally see Urtai, and this should allow Game Over to respond to this because they are mostly on that side of the map anyway. They're positioned very, very defensively. We see Henrik Dante along with Nip in a good position to turn around and defend that flag if they need to. Tanking Daka as well, reverse angled, watching this hill push will make it very hard for the EC guys to really hold a position on this cap.
This is actually kind of tricky right now. How is EC going to be able to engage into this? This seems like a very hard thing to break.
It is, and they're actually getting a really cool looking surround if it comes to fruition properly. DeRosta is moving. He's already in E3. He's just waiting around the corner. He knows the positioning of Game Over. He's predicted it. He's waiting just out of view, and he looks like I guess he's going to pop out just in time for maybe another distraction, or he's going to be the distraction for another push. I'm expecting some kind of huge multi-sided push out of EC to break this.
We do see some action here. Henrik Dante in position to fire on Vect. He's trying to reverse angle here. That AMX 5100 knows he can do some really serious damage if he can get the right angles on those shots. DeRosta in that IS-3 also in a position to get involved in this fight. Dante tries to get an angle on Vect, and he will fire and deal some good damage. Vect taking about 400 damage. Henrik Dante also taking some shots. Nip's going to come over and lend his auto loader firepower to this firefight. So a lot of damage being dealt here between Urtai, Vect, Henrik Dante, and Nip. At the same time, though, we've got a little bit more action. Tanking Daka is locked up in a fight with two auto loaders, so an IS-3 against two 5100s. That's not very fair, and Tanking Daka is going to go right down. That's good play out of Rodney Dangerfield.
Here comes
And
Nip
Tommy
100
Cannon.
in his AMX 5100. I'm not sure how many bullets are left for Rodney Dangerfield, and
Rodney is reloading now, and he was ammo racked. He knew he was going down, so Tommy Cannon took the time to escape, although he did hesitate for a moment, so he's going to take a hit for his hesitation. He should have just left altogether. Rodney knew he was dead. He was going to empty the last of his shots, and the fight will happen elsewhere now with
it's going to
DeRosta.
continue with Urtai and Vect engaging on Nip. Nip will go down in his AMX 5100, so once more a tier point advantage in favor of Ehrmahgerd Caernervern.
Colorado taking a couple shots at Tommy Cannon. Tommy Cannon will duck out of that little T1. Able to tickle his tracks a little bit, but that's all.
The Rasta went down to Rafa Bida, so we're all even once more, even a small advantage right now.
But we have a cap being initiated. Roball in that little T1 sitting on the cap. He has taken out the enemy T1s. There is nobody in position to respond to this cap, guys. That means EC has 1 minute to figure out what to do, and if Tommy Cannon is going to go back, that means it's going to be an extreme mismatch on the other side of the map.
You are correct. Tommy Cannon is going back, and he's the highest health member of Ehrmahgerd Caernervern right now. He has 1040.
Vect is going to go down. Gandorfo in position will light him up, and that means it's Urtai versus Henrik Dante, and Urtai does not have the health he needs to do it. Urtai is going to go down as well. Tommy Cannon removing himself from the fight.
I think in that moment, if you want to go back, you should just all go back. You know, it makes really no sense to try to somehow get into a fight when Tommy Cannon is on the other side of the map trying to prevent a cap. Just follow him and try to get that fight later, which could potentially still favor you.
Man, what great T1 play out of Roball now 2 games in a row.
Yep.
For really making himself a big factor in the outcome of these games. Now it's Henrik Dante and Gandorfo making a push down towards the flag. Tommy Cannon has his work cut out for him. He does have full health, but he's got to kill 3 tanks.
And he also probably took the time right after that shot to reload, so he's got another
it
maybe
is possible.
10 seconds to reload. Hopefully he doesn't run into the wrong target right here. And
T1, don't shoot it.
He wants to ram it, and there we go.
He'll ram it and it will die. But now it's even worse because the flag is being occupied, so he's going to be moving on defending opponents with settled reticules that are going to be able to just light him up. And Henrik Dante is brilliantly positioning himself in front of Gandorfo, basically screening for his autoloader buddy. And Tommy Cannon is going to
have to go real soon, though. It's only 30 seconds left.
I just don't know how he's going to be able to make it happen. But if ever there was a chance to make some big plays, now is it, Tommy.
Empty that Tommy gun.
He's making a good approach, but I think he has spotted the IS-3.
14, 13,
Needs
only
to
10
get a
seconds
shot off.
remaining,
10 seconds
Randall.
remain. Where is Tommy Cannon? 9, 8. Tommy Cannon, we got to do something, man.
I think he might be able to get a shot off real soon.
3, 2, 1, and
misses.
He bounces the shot. Base will be captured, and Tommy Cannon is also going to take a lot of damage. He will not die before the game is over.
If you talk about inspiring T1 play, that's so far Robo has really been the man of the match.
He has just been crushing with his excellent T1 play. Roball picks up another kill. It was the defending T1, and that allowed him to pressure the flag. That forced EC to send somebody back, and ultimately
turned the tide of the battle.
Yeah, it did. That is what it created the mismatch.
Yeah.
And so nicely done there by Game Over, who is looking like a damn good team.
They're looking very good right now. I'm really liking them, and it feels like EC is getting that that style that I was talking about. They're methodical. They're making the right answers to many plays. Unfortunately, it's just not right enough, and they haven't been able to get a win where they've made some really interesting calls. I feel like where DeRosta is, you're seeing right calls, but where you're not seeing him, like those 3 T69s of Brorovka, they didn't make the right call. They didn't make the right move. Whereas the rest of the team seemed to be making a lot of right choices. You had this small group of players that are maybe not making the right choices soon enough, and that's probably what's really throwing it.
A little bit of indecision in their shot calling, perhaps. Now, Tommy Cannon was not able to save the day there, but he was mismatched. He did put up some good numbers, about 1,400 damage dealt, picked up 3 kills, including that T1 that would have ended the game a lot earlier had he not done something about it. But it is Game Over now, who leads 2-0 on the backs of phenomenal T1 play and really good, just straight up execution. They're performing very well in the brawls. They're hitting their shots. They're choosing the right fights, and everything is shaping up quite nicely. So I'm impressed with Game Over, guys. We're going to kick it into a very short break. When we get back, our third battle going to be taking place on Ruinberg. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back with a lot more tanks. Back to Wargaming.net League North America and our World of Tanks relegation matches for Season 2. Right now we are halfway through, mostly.
Depends how it goes.
Yeah, it depends how it goes. We've already seen one team go through, Simplistic managing to take out Bushti, 3-1. Very nice play there out of Simplistic. Looking a little rocky in the first map, but they brought it back, and now they have confirmed their seed for Season 2. Now we are watching Game Over leading 2-0 over EC, and what is probably a pretty surprising development. Game Over now one map away from punching their ticket into the WGL, and they're doing it with some excellent T1 play and some really good brawling.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see Game Over go into Season 2 at this point. I really think they're going to bring it home with a third win here. EC has been playing well, but not well enough, and Game Over looks very strong. They performed very well in the major leagues. No, unfortunately, those don't get, cast or anything, but they, from what I've heard, they did very well. They played very strong, and it was just a wonder whether or not they would perform well in these relegations against the, what we could say, the bottom teams from our WGLNA Season 1. Middle teams? Middle teams.
The bottom teams are
are
gone.
out.
Well, the top half stay, right?
Top half stay.
Yeah, the bottom
Next
half.
4 relegate. The bottom 4 are gone.
So it's either top or bottom.
Yeah.
All right.
Randall Randall's hard to please.
Randall's a black and white man.
If you're not Fulcrum Gaming and winning $50,000 every time you sit down to play, you're not very good. And actually, after the PAX event, Randall's like, "I'm done with you, Fulcrum."
Even Fulcrum is not that good.
Right. Let's jump into Ruinberg, our third battle in this match.
EC is on the ropes, man, and spawning in the north side of the map. They have a couple of AMX 5100s, 3 of them even, 1 T69 and 1 3090. So talking about autoloaders, well, you got 5 of them over here. They're going to go up against 2 AMX 5100s, 1 IS-3 and T69. So 9 out of the 10 tier 8 tanks are autoloaders.
Pretty cool, man. We see an interesting setup here out of the game over guys. We've got Henrik Dante sitting back, being defensive, covering this 6th line. The rest of the team is up at the top of the map, and they're all following. Well, they're all following Nip, I guess, along this 0 line, where they're going to push along the north side. And you know what? They're going to run into EC, because EC is also up on the top half of the map.
Yep, they're all in the Delta village, and everyone is pretty much getting spotted already. This is just going to be madness all over the place.
Tommy Cannon taking huge hits, down to 284. Very unfortunate. He drove way too aggressively far forward and just hesitated to stop after seeing Robal. But it looks like Rodney Dangerfield is going to blind fire down the bush line that we saw Game Over Tanks. Fantastic job out of him. He's probably getting a few good hits here. I won't be able to tell until tanks are spotted again, though.
Vex, very interestingly, going to go push forward and take out the eyes of Game Over. He will go down. That was more good T1 play out of Robal. He was able to proxy spot for his teammates for quite some time.
This is looking really bad already for EC, man. They lost Tommy. They lost the Rasta.
They are now down 8 tier points, so they are in a very difficult situation where they have to make something happen. And all of a sudden, Game Over doesn't really need to do much. They can sit back and they can enjoy the advantage, and now it's up to EC to bring the fight to them. So Henrik Dante, with all 1,500 of his hit points in that IS-3, is actually going to take an aggressive stance as the rest of his team falls back. He's going to try to do a little bit of spotting, maybe deal a little bit of damage, and see if he can open up some opportunities.
Might run into Urtai soon. Urtai's still over here in the Delta village, actually pretty damn close.
And he does just that, spotting Rodney. Rodney taking a lot of damage on Henrik Dante's spotting. Urtai has also been spotted. Rodney Dangerfield does fall off as Henrik Dante continues to push forward. Urtai does shoot and damage Henrik Dante. Here comes Rodney Dangerfield, 371 hit points. Will he be oh man, 365 is the roll as Rodney Dangerfield will barely stay alive. Henrik Dante exposing himself to a lot of fire, and he does go down.
Gomes with the good flank, 25 against 25 right now. This is a tie. Of course, they're still down in HP because Rodney is so low in HP, but he is still alive, and that is in the end of the day all that matters.
Rodney Dangerfield is so low on HP, but so too is Rafa at 80 hit points.
Oh my God, where is he?
You know, Rafa in that T69, there's not many things in the game that would not kill Rafa. That T69.
The only thing that couldn't kill him is possibly a T1.
Colorado might actually be able to kill Rodney Dangerfield.
I think a T1 might be shooting at Rafa and is managing to do no damage as Rafa does walk away again. Dorfo in the center of the map trying to get positioned to take a couple of shots in his AMX 5100. He does represent a lot of the damage output remaining for Game Over. Urtai, Gomes, and Uber Sniper.
Gondorfo is going to find Gomes over here, and this is, of course, Gomes extremely important as he still has quite a bit of HP on his 3090.
Gomes does get the first shots off, and Gondorfo missing Gomes. Could you possibly take out this 5100? That would be a huge play.
Yep.
Oh my God, Gondorfo missing again, and Gomes does take him out. Huge plays out of Gomes. As now we see a decisive tier lead for EC.
Yep, it all comes down to tanking Daka. Tanking Daka is going to have to make something happen. Perhaps Rafa Beta still wants to gamble a little bit, but tanking Daka can easily kill Gomes. He can super easily kill Rodney Dangerfield, but he's going to have to worry about Urtai and his T69.
Looks like he's not real interested in it. Colorado's trying to force a cap, but I think Gomes is coming back for him.
Yes, he is.
And I don't think Colorado is long to this world. The two T69s of Game Over are parked on the other side of the map, and it looks like they might be content to sit back and draw it out. So Colorado will try to do something to Gomes, but Gomes is like, nope, 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 big nope. And down goes Colorado. No cap going to be happening for that T1 Cunningham.
So where is tanking Daka right now?
Tanking Daka is on, he's on the red side of the map.
I mean, he's going to have to make something happen. It makes no sense to just sit this out right now because they're going to lose. They're down 9 points.
You know, you're right. You're absolutely right. He does have to make something happen. You know, Gomes and Rodney Dangerfield, both potential kills for tanking Daka.
Just ramming them would be enough.
But
Well,
I think he's scared to go engage Urtai because Urtai does have very nearly full health.
And very close by could be DM Gomes if we see Urtai. I'd expect, with the flexibility of the 1390, which is an interesting pick for this map, but not uncharacteristic of what we've seen out of EC. We saw them do this last season with mostly, I think it was Whiskey Dodd, usually in the 1390. But DM Gomes showed to be a pretty decent driver.
There's that T1 Uber Sniper. I don't think tanking Daka wants to waste a shot on him, though.
Gomes did a crazy amount of damage. First on that flank on that IS-3, and then after that he was able to pick up that AMX 5100 as well. Gomes has absolutely been the MVP so far. And he's still alive. You know, like just like ramming Rodney Dangerfield and shooting at Gomes.
Yeah. That
Even
would-
if he sacrifices himself but just kills those two, that's good enough.
That's good enough for the draw, which is very strong still. 4 minutes remain. There's a lot of time for these guys to determine exactly how they want to play this. I'm
of
unimpressed
course.
with taking Daka's choice to be so passive, though. I would like to see him.
And I mean, we shouldn't underestimate Rafa Beta. Sure, he will get killed in one shot, but it's still T69, which still can unleash hell on either Gomes or on Rodney Dangerfield. Just a single
Yeah.
shot is all he needs anyways.
Yeah, Rafa Beta is no.
It's no different than Gomes,
Exactly,
basically.
no different than Gomes, no different than Rodney Dangerfield. He's a threat, and if he dies, it doesn't change a whole hell of a lot because they're already down.
Yep.
Well, one thing
Man,
that
this is
I need to
good.
point out is if
Thanking Daka?
a T69
Who does he
could
see?
low roll, Rafa Beta could low roll and actually not kill Gomes. He could low roll, and Gomes could be left at a tiny amount of health, where then Gomes could get a hit and kill
But
Rafa.
you can't play that way, man.
Yeah, I'm just saying it's possible, which is the
Okay,
little
there comes
situation.
Rafa Beta. Rafa Beta wants to kill the Uber Sniper. Uber Sniper is shooting at him. Here comes Gomes, though. He's going to go for Rafa Beta. He misses. Gomes misses the
man,
shot.
taking Daka's in
Rafa
position to
misses as
fire,
well.
but oh wow, Gomes continues to be the hero of the day, and now it is tanking Daka 1v3.
They both missed their first shot. Gomes hit the second one, though. Here comes tanking Daka. Oh, man. This is getting... I believe he can do this. As ridiculous as this may sound.
Oh, he's in position. Whoa, he tracks Gomes, but Gomes is going to just hit reverse and pop that repair kit, and he's going to get out of there. So 22 hit points remain.
Just
2
like I was
shots,
saying.
2 kills, any damage at all.
Here comes Urtai. Urtai is smelling blood, and tanking Daka actually getting hit by
Oh,
someone.
that's a big shot by Urtai, managing to track tanking Daka, forcing that repair kit to be used. And man, what a precarious position for tanking Daka in this T69.
Here comes Urtai from behind, Ben. Oh, he's almost able to see him, and now he will be able to spot tanking Daka. Thank God, it runs
it's
into
a
the
bad
wall.
turn. He hits the corner. Tanking Daka not able to duck into cover, and he's going to take. Oh, Urtai misses a shot there.
Hits the next one,
Manages
though.
to hit that third shot. Now it's 500 hit points for tanking Daka against the 1100 of Urtai.
Oh, look at Rodney Dangerfield, even trying to get a couple of cheap shots up and gets a big
those are
shot
gonna be
up.
the shots to end it. Rodney
GG.
Dangerfield
What a
shows
fun game.
himself and takes out tanking Daka. And right now, Game Over leads 2-1 over EC, but EC just picking up a huge win on Ruinberg. We move on now to Steps, where it all comes down to this, in a sense. It's every game is an elimination game for EC. Game Over, they need to dial it down, I think, a little bit. I feel like certainly Henrik Dante got a little bit overexcited on Ruinberg. You know, we've all had these moments in World of Tanks where we see 3 low health tanks. I can kill them all.
This is me.
Triple kill.
This is my moment.
You get tracked, and then you shoot, boom, and then you bounce, and you're like, oh.
And where do I get shot from? And that's like the most... I get shot from 4 different angles, and they're all ammo wrecking me.
We've all been there. So Henrik Dante and the rest of his crew need to just slow it down just a little bit. They're
Slow
one game
down.
away. You know you can't catch me. You're moving too fast. Let's go ahead and jump into Steps for our 4th map. And here we go again with Game Over versus EC, and a very typical loadout for Steps. We see a lot of light tanks, see a
We
lot
see
of T69s.
Yeah, we see T32 as well, though, with Tommy Cannon. So a little less spray, a little more heavy gun right now. On the other side, we can see 3 T69s, 1 AMX 3090, and a WC-132. So Game Over is very, very mobile, way more mobile.
Yeah, and they're using that
the lineup of
mobility.
EC.
Henrik Dante leading the charge in the WZ-132. He will be the eyes on this push as they're going to make their way all the way up the western side, and they will begin to slowly move their way forward. The rest of the team kind of bringing up the rear. Even the T1 coming along. So a single T1 being left behind to defend Cap. That's got to be Colorado, and it is.
Shout out to him for using his state as his nickname.
Sounds like somebody else I know.
Yep.
And I'm not talking about Rukyo. So Robal is with the push in that T1. Robal has been the aggressive T1 player who has been making some big plays all series long, and will try once again to do just that. The entirety of Game Over has successfully made this push up to the northern half of steps, and you know what? The EC boys aren't really in position to receive it. EC is taking that ridge line.
Oh, this might be a really crazy cap game. It might just be where both teams are just going to cap it out.
It's a very real possibility, as
even though the T-32 is not that far, he still has plenty of time to come back. Of course, they have to worry about it. This T-32 is nowhere near as fast as the other tanks. It is quite a bit off, though.
But he could just be a defensive mechanism here, like we saw in that first game in Bushi versus Simplistic, where those T-32s were able to deter.
Yeah, he's actually, as soon as he like just drives back a little bit, he's still able to get shots off on the flag. So if they would get capped out, they have plenty of time to get back.
So still an aggressive stance from Game Over, as they have essentially moved their entire team up to the northern half of steps. Not much spotting going down. We're seeing some pinging taking place, but that is the gist of it, with these guys very methodically making their way over to the flag and just preparing to will probably be a cap initiation.
And there's the first spotting going up. That is Robal getting spotted by Durasta, and Durasta has not been spotted himself yet. Can they kill Robal before he spots Durasta?
He
That
does have the luxury of that ridge line. And will he see anything when he pokes over? Will he even try to poke over? Robal has been so aggressive in his T1 play all series long. And there's a spot on Tommy Cannon. So Tommy Cannon is going to get lit here in that T-32. Doesn't take any damage, but he is now accounted for.
I think Henrik Dante is going to try to get a cheap shot off on Durasta while Robal is spotting Durasta. I think that's the little plan right now.
Henrik Dante going to make his way up onto this little berm, where he will
attempt to get his position, but
he knows that Tommy Cannon is off in that direction, and he's no doubt letting his reticle settle and hoping that Tommy Cannon might reveal himself once more. But those T-32s are so hard to pin from long range because of that excellent turret armor.
Yeah, and the heat rounds from the WZ-132 should not be able to pen the turret, except in the incredibly small weak spot, which is the hatch. Most tanks have a hatch weak point, which is very easy to pen.
To be fair, the T-32 hatch is huge.
It's actually pretty small relative to a lot.
It's ridiculous. My hatch always gets blown up when I'm in my T-32.
Oh, okay. Well, you need a hatch so that your commander can actually see. if you don't have much of a hatch, you don't have much vision. You'll notice a lot of tanks with smaller hatches don't actually see very far.
Robal showing more good T1 play. He's going to take out Durasta. And no, actually, it's Henrik Dante that takes out Durasta. Uber Sniper wasting one of those autoloader shells on Robal. Does pick up the kill.
Told you, man. Told you so.
Way ahead of the
meta. It was a really cute plan.
Way ahead of the meta, Kev.
Well done by Robal, even though he did die as well in the end, which was of course not part of the plan, but at least Henrik Dante was able to finish off Durasta.
You know, it looks like Game Over's push is kind of stalled out here. The presence of that T-32 makes it so hard to commit to that flag, and that flag is very open. There's not really any cover to hide behind when you initiate cap. So if you're going to try to cap it out, you're exposing yourself to a lot of enemy fire. So now we're going to see some new movement out of Game Over as Henrik Dante and Tanking Daka and these two very highly mobile 1390 and WZ-132s will book it down to the southern half of the map and see if they can maybe work on a flank or just create some sort of openings with their movement.
Yeah, I actually want to say, a moment ago you were talking about the T-32 and how Game Over has to approach the situation. That is exactly what Ehrmahgerd Caernervern must have been thinking when they made this strat. Bring a T-32, use that hold down, and there's no way your enemy can attack you because you can't approach that. You can't get an advantage when you approach that. There's no way you come out on top trying to just come across the open
spotted
field.
now, guys. Henrik Dante has managed to identify Gomes in that 1390.
Gomes is a little alone. Urtai is there to back him up, but still.
Well, I don't know where that shot came from. Gomes taking a lot of damage, down to 660 hit points. Henrik Dante is going to get lit up by a T1 on the hill, and will fire and miss in response. So that's some cute play there out of that T1 Cunningham up on the high ground.
That's a really big victory for Game Over. They're basically 800 hit points ahead right now, with 700.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for Gomes to be a positive factor in this match without his ability to actually engage in big fights.
The good thing for them is that they still have this T-32, and it seems like they're going to play this defensively right now. In my opinion, Gomes losing all his HP kind of eliminates any plan of being aggressive. They could potentially draw it out and then try to at least win the 5th and final map.
And then tie it up for a shootout?
Well, I think it's going to be very hard for them to win this game. They're down 700 hit points, and they have a more immobile tank. Unless Game Over messes up, I don't see how they're going to win this game. I mean, of course, crazy things
how
have happened.
are they gonna lose this game? You mean?
They don't have to lose it. They can draw it. Or
Right. You said unless they mess up, you don't know how they'll win it.
Yeah, I think the best they can do is draw.
Oh.
That's what I meant.
It is going to be very hard for both Game Over and Ehrmahgerd Caernervern to make anything happen with this map. Ehrmahgerd Caernervern just not as mobile, and in order to bring that T-32 into a fight, they have to really keep Game Over in position for a long time, where Game Over can just leave if they want to with higher mobility. So it's going to be very hard for them to start a fight as Ehrmahgerd Caernervern, and they don't have the health to do that. They can't waste Gomes very easily. He's very precious right now. Whereas Game Over can't attack because they're just so light. They don't have enough health points to overmatch that easily, because the T-32 has a large health pool, which helps us offset that loss we saw out of Gomes. Gomes may be low, but you've still got this big, beefy T-32.
Rodney Dangerfield and his T-69 getting spotted, but that ridgeline in the northeastern corner.
Got 2 minutes and 10 seconds to go.
That ridgeline very difficult to push on, as we've already been discussing quite extensively. It looks like Game Over might be thinking about making something happen. The T-69s are gathering their forces. All 3 T-69s are together and are very, very close to both this defensive ridgeline and to this cap point. So if they wanted to try and initiate something, it would be possible. Meanwhile, there is movement on the bottom half of the map, as I see Henrik Dante and his battle buddy Tanking Daka once again rolling out, trying to create openings. They know that this ridgeline is where EC has camped out.
Rodney Dangerfield just used his shot, by the way, so he's not loaded.
They're both spotted now, though. Henrik Dante and Tanking Daka spotted by Urte. That's going to really ruin their element of surprise, but they are approaching from a very...
Oh, Tommy Cannon is not looking at him. He's looking the other way, so this T-32's got to be very careful.
Oh my God, Henrik Dante is so exposed right now. Of course, he has a lot of backup.
He's exposed, but ironically enough, EC's not really in position to punish it. Now here comes Rodney Dangerfield. He will take a shot and return a shot at the same time. It looks like this will finally be the initiation that we were waiting for. Nip and that T-69 is going to push as well, and that's going to cue the rest of the T-69s to come up. Nip in a great position, manages to get a shot off on Rodney Dangerfield. Tommy Cannon swings and misses. That's a huge miss in that T-32. But not nearly as big as wasted opportunities in these autoloaders. Gomes down to 165 hit points. He is one shot from death. And look at the push coming from Game Over. Every single tank is making its move on this ridgeline. Tanking Daka going to go ahead and head over. And will he be able to hunt down Gomes? That's what he's looking for. There's Gomes, 165 hit points. He shoots and misses. Gomes does not go down, but there's that second shot. Autoloader power coming through. Gomes will fall. That does create a 7-point tier lead because of the T1 difference. There's another big kill.
Nip is taking a lot of damage, though. That is indeed a massive kill, but is Nip in his T-69 going to be able to stay alive?
Left. Yes,
they will. It's enough.
Do it, and more tanks are going to fall, and that's going to do it.
Wow.
As Game Over is going to close it out over EC in exciting fashion.
What a beautiful engagement that was. They were coming in from, well, I mean, I want to say 360 degrees, but it was almost
180 about, maybe a little more.
Yeah, they covered the entire ridgeline. They positioned everybody. They made a big push as a group, and the real story of the battle is wasted opportunities and missed shots. Uber Sniper with 2 big misses. Rodney Dangerfield with 3. Urtai missing twice. Tommy Cannon only managing to do 268 damage with in that T-32. So he was pretty wasted. And of course Gomes, as we discussed previously, was
yeah, he just took way too much damage.
He took way too much damage really early. On the other hand, Nip getting off 13 shots, hit 9 times. Lots of missed opportunities for Gandorfo, but still manages 6 hits for a lot of damage. And ultimately, it was just that focused fire and that good movement for Game Over that allowed them to close it out 3-1 over EC. We've got a new player in town with Game Over, and what an interesting turn of events that was.